We are 23 years of industry experience, adhering to the highest safety standards. We are Melbourne, and we are right across Victoria. We are the Lanco Group, your business partner for engineering solutions. Lanco Group. We are more than you realise, and we are ready to partner with you.
She lays it off Teresa Polias. It's an absolute peach. Ayres driving. What a hit from Melina Ayres. Wow. And Sam Kerr has a hat-trick. Miedemar, 1-0.
Another edition of Radio Dub on FNR. I'm your host, Pokuah Frimpong. I'm joined as always by Josh Parrish, but a baby-faced Josh Parrish with a shave here. You know, I saw you and I was like, whoa, did you age like 5 years down? What happened?
Yeah, it's my de-aging process. Whenever I feel like I'm the grandpa here at the studio, which I frequently do these days, with the likes of you hanging around, I have to reach for the razor, and that's what I did. No, it was because I was on a plane and I didn't want to wear a mask with a beard for a long period of time.
Okay, fair. That's all right. Well, with only 3 days till the start of the new A-League women's season, see, I got it right this time, we thought, let's preview it. That's important. So we've got an expert, Joey Lynch, the busiest man in Melbourne in football, I reckon, writing for The Guardian, ESPN, Yahoo. Joey, who do you not write for at this point?
Anybody that doesn't pay.
Fair enough. Well, Joey, this new season, there's been a long wait for the season to start. What are your thoughts for the upcoming season? Are we going to get a better season than we did last year?
Listen, I think the new era of Australian football, both for men's and women's football, is being heavily driven by narrative when it comes to what is better. Without a doubt, last season of the A-League women wasn't of the same quality that we have had in years past, simply because of the number of departures. There were obviously, the exodus of Matildas to Europe, as well as a host of other players. However, that season still went down as one of the more enjoyed and entertaining because of the narrative factors behind it, such as the young players coming through, surprises, storylines, all of that sort of thing. So in terms of this season, I'd say it does have the potential to be a better season than last year, and in fact one of the better seasons in general, because there are so many narratives that one can weave surrounding the upcoming months in terms of all the things that are happening in Australian football, the players that will emerge, the clubs that will emerge. So the table is set for it to be a good season, but you can never guarantee anything in football.
Well,
go on.
You see, Josh,
it's your show.
Happening here. Come on.
Well, look, there's a lot of churn in the off-season, Joey. Which team do you think is most affected by this, and which team is going to be the most out of sync on match day one, like me and Pokuah at the moment on the two mics?
Well, there's been, to be honest, as you said, there's been a lot of churn in a whole bunch of the teams. But then again, whether that's a good or a bad thing is entirely relative. I mean, I think Perth Glory have over a dozen new signings to their team, but when they are entering a campaign coming off the back of a season in which they only secured a single point and didn't win a game, is churn necessarily a bad thing? And then you've got sides like Brisbane Roar that for a little while last season, it looked like they were going to maybe escape unscathed the exodus of Matildas. They had the likes of Gielnik and Gorry and Polkinghorne and Yallop. Now only Katrina Gorry remains, so there is a bit of turnover over there. I mean, in terms of them sides being dysfunctional and not clicking into gear week one, I think there is a chance that whilst, yes, there will inevitably some rust, it might not be as bad as years past, simply because for a lot of the teams this season, they've had the very rare luxury of an extended preseason. NPLW competitions around the country being affected by COVID and shutting down early, particularly in NPLW Victoria and NPLW New South Wales, it has allowed some of these sides to get players in sooner and begin training earlier. Victory have been training for a few months now, I think, paying players while they were training, which is, what we love to see. And I think that's been pretty standard around the competition. So there is a chance that a lot of these sides, yes, maybe not as many opportunities to play games coming in, but they'll have trained a lot together. So that might mitigate some of the factors surrounding rust.
Speaking of this year, a lot of teams have had a little bit more cohesion due to less, COVID disruptions. With the likes of Melbourne City, Newcastle and Perth finishing so poorly last season, not having the greatest season, which of those three teams can fans expect to maybe have a resurgence as such?
I'd say all of them are shaping as being better, but I think Melbourne City is shaping as having the best season. Bit of a spoiler alert, in my Guardian A-League Women's Season preview, I have Melbourne City finishing third. I think they have... I would have loved it if they had signed more Victorian players, because ostensibly until Western United enter the league, they are one of the two pathways for Victorian players. But I think they have more Queenslanders on their books than Victorians at the moment. But at the end of the day, Rado Vidosic, it's his job to win games first and foremost. And I think he has this team at his disposal to do that. We obviously... they have some strong talent there already in the forms of the likes of Emma Checker, who's coming back, Hannah Wilkinson, who has signed during the off-season, and I think she's really going to be big for them, because what they were screaming out for last season was a striker that could put the ball in the back of the net. They experimented with a variety of players that aren't really strikers, the likes of Chinatsu Kira and Alex Chidiak in more forward roles. Didn't really work. Now they've got an out-and-out striker to bang the ball in. Rebecca Stott is going to return, and Rebecca is going to have to build up her fitness as the season goes on, but she is a world-class presence in the locker room, and she's adaptable as well in terms of what she can do. And I'm not going to give too much away, but I think Rebecca Stott, even in week one, what she does will surprise a few people.
Well, they've had Stotty come back into the squad, but a big departure from the club has been Tegan Micah. How is City going to be able to stay competitive? They've got a lot of new players. That stability at the back for them last year was really important. How are they going to mitigate that loss?
Well, I think they generally have. I think they've signed, I think it's Sally James to play in goal for them this year. And City generally do a pretty good job of having someone Matildas or Matildas adjacent in goal for them. And I believe Sally James has been in and around youth international teams before, so that should help on that front. And I think City in general have always been pretty defensively sound as a unit. Rado Vidosic knows how to coach. He will be able to get that side up and operating well defensively. They've also signed Winona Heatley in the last few days, so she could come in and help reinforce them as well. I've got big raps on Naomi Chinema, who spent the past season at South Melbourne in the NPLW, and she's got a lot of fans at Melbourne City. So I think defensively they should be okay, especially considering that Emma Checker, she'll have a bit between her teeth this season. I mean, she's got to have a big season to keep her 2023 Women's World Cup hopes alive. So she is going to be highly motivated.
Well, Joey, I was up in Canberra over the weekend. I could feel the excitement for the return of some professional sport to the city. Look, Manuka Oval was looking beautiful as I walked past. Michelle Heyman obviously broke all sorts of goal-scoring records in her return last season, and now they're rehabilitating another prematurely retired player in Ashley Sykes. How big an impact do you think she can make?
inevitably, I think returning to professional football, there are always questions. She did spend a number of years away from the game. I mean, she played some in the NPLW. She was also an assistant coach for a while with Canberra. So just how quickly it takes her to adjust and get back on her feet at a professional level will be interesting. But she's going to be playing next to Michelle Heyman. She's going to have Alira Toby backing her up there at Canberra as well. So she won't have to carry the whole load for Canberra. She's going to be able to ease into it. So I think she will potentially prove a bit of a difference maker for Canberra. Canberra, I think it's a bit of an interesting situation that there are, after the top two teams in A-League Women's, there are ostensibly 7, you could argue for 6 teams that could potentially slot into those final 2 finals positions. So at present, and I reserve the right to change my mind depending upon any late additions to squads, I would have Canberra finishing 4th. I've got questions on the defensive ends, but I think they're going to be, very good moving forward. So, and goals win you football matches.
Well, if we head further north up into the Queensland, they've lost a lot of players with the likes of Tamika Yallop, Emily Gilnick and Claire Polkinghorne all leaving at the end of last season. They may be a team that will miss their last season form. Are they going to struggle this year, or have the new incumbent players good enough to fill those positions left?
Well, I mean, sometimes it just feels like Brisbane are going to be continuously successful in the A-League Women's. I think they are the second most successful team in the competition's history after Sydney FC. And I think Brisbane, one could probably make the argument, no side in the competition's history have done such an excellent job of developing and fostering local talent like Brisbane Roar / Queensland Roar back in their early days have done so. You just need to look at the Matildas squad to see the rich vein of talent that has poured out of Queensland in the past decade and a half. And that speaks not only to the Roar, I guess, but also the developmental pathways that have been instituted in Queensland. And if they are to have young players coming through, they've got the right coach to do it. Gareth McPherson is a former assistant to Mel Andrietta at the club back when they won a premiership. So he knows what it takes to win with the Roar, but he's also spent time in the National Training Centre up there in Queensland. He coaches the Queensland Academy of Sports side in NPLW Queensland. So he knows not only who the best young players and the best players in NPLW Queensland are, he also has experience in developing and fostering talent. So if they are to find that next diamond to come out of the Sunshine State, he would be a good candidate to do it.
What do you make of the coaching change there? I mean, you mentioned the new incoming coach seems to have good credentials, but replacing your manager after a second place finish seems a little bit harsh to me.
I don't really. I don't have too many ins in the local Queensland scene, so I'm not sure. This is unfortunately an A-League, a women's competition where coaches are not full-time coaches. Sure. They do have other commitments. I know read a story with Ash Wilson recently in which she'll spend most of her days teaching and then go and coach the Newcastle Jets and spend most of her night preparing the next session or the game plan or grading students' homework. So the career factors could be an issue. I can't really comment beyond speculation around that.
Well, Gareth is one of the new coaches in the league. Will he be one who surprises a lot of people, or will he be one of those ones that will be on the hot seat very early? Or will there be another manager around the league?
I don't think he's going to be on the hot seat early, simply because this is a young Queensland-based side, a Queensland-influenced side in transition. I think he'll be given time. The coach, I think, is going to surprise a lot of people in a good way. I think is Alex Epakis out at Perth Glory. It kind of, I think it's been sort of glossed over just how much of a poison chalice he was handed at that club last season with the border restrictions, the inability to properly recruit, the short time he had to prepare his sides, the messed up schedule they had to play. So I think he's going to surprise a lot of people. I mentioned their large turnover in their squad, bringing over a dozen players. This is a squad that bears a lot more of a Parkis's fingerprints on. I think pretty sure he was the first coach to get out there and start recruiting players. I mean, it felt like the season was barely over, and then here was Perth Glory announcing a whole bunch of young and overlooked players from the Eastern Seaboard. I mean, he must have been haunting some of the NPLW Victoria commentary streams that myself and Josh were doing, because he signed a number of talented young players from that system, as well as New South Wales, which you'd expect given that he's a former Sydney University coach. So I think he is going to surprise a lot of people in a very good way.
What about Wellington Phoenix then? The newcomers to the competition have almost gone under the radar here because they're likely to be playing games in Wollongong due to the border situation. Maybe the New Zealand media not so interested in hyping them up when there's no home games to attend. I saw something on Twitter where there was only one journalist at their Zoom conference, which, I mean, Joey, that sometimes happens in Melbourne. So
it reminds me of all those one-on-one conversations I had with Emma Checker and Jenna McCormick last year at the city press conferences.
So not too unusual an occurrence, unfortunately. But what do you make of this side that they've assembled? It's good to just have the league expanded first and foremost, but on the name recognition index, at least, doesn't rate too highly for me, to be honest.
It doesn't rate very highly at all. With apologies to our Kiwi bros and sisters, they're going to take their lumps this season. The veteran in the squad is Annabelle Martin. So in the outfields, at least. So they're going to take some lumps. This is going to be a very young team. The hope will just be that if they are to take their lumps, they take them in a way that allows this to become a learning opportunity. It's to be honest, it's quite a big task in front of Gemma Lewis, their coach, who also doubles up as coach of New Zealand's under-20s women's side, because they're going to lose and they're going to cop a couple of thrashings, I imagine. So it's going to be her job to make sure that these young players don't drop their heads, don't become disillusioned or damaged by the heavy defeats. And they use them as learning experiences. They use them as maybe a way to build chemistry and a sense of camaraderie. And they use it as, yes, we're losing games, but we're building a foundation here, not just for a new A-League women's franchise, but also for New Zealand's football, not just heading into a 2023 Women's World Cup. I think that coming tournament tends to overshadow the fact that a lot of these moves that are coming in to coincide with that tournament are really around building a legacy and a foundation for a self-sustaining, strong women's ecosystem after that. So that has to be the focus, I think, making sure that they keep their heads up, take their lumps, maybe pinch a win, and then just bigger and better things in the years ahead.
Absolutely. Well, Joey, last year, great grand final, Melbourne Victory versus Sydney FC. These sides have kind of gone a little bit of different direction in the off-season. Sydney have lost some key players, and Melbourne Victory have managed to retain a lot of their quality players. How do you see both those sides this season going?
They're going to be top two. Once again, I think there is a clear gap in quality that exists between Melbourne Victory and Sydney FC and the rest of the competition. And I think there are, you're right, Sydney FC have lost a couple of big players, especially I think Teresa Polias and Ellie Brush. Polias, midfield general, what could be considered a bit of a heart and soul of Sydney FC, stepping away to start a family, I believe it was. And then Ellie Brush so unfortunately lost to an ACL injury, another ACL injury, the great demon that descends upon women's sport, the ACL injury taking her out. Those are two big losses, but they're another side that they will be good going forward. They've got that triumvirate triumvirate up front, Remy Siemsen, Princess Abini and Courtney Vine. I've got huge raps on Courtney Vine. I remember interviewing her and profiling her.
I hope not, Joe.
She's
Please,
suffered some
come
pretty
on.
serious injuries. I have to think that you're responsible, Joe.
Oh, God, no. I remember interviewing her when she was a member of the Newcastle Jets as a rising star, and it's great to see her kicking on now. If she hadn't been lost to an injury heading into the finals of last campaign, who knows what happens. Both for Sydney FC and for Vine herself, I'm almost certain that we would have seen Vine make a Matildas debut at some point had she not suffered that injury. So really looking forward to seeing what she can do. So Sydney will be there or thereabouts. I know Jessica Nash, baptism of fire against the United States earlier in the week, one that she will want to forget, but playing for Sydney FC, she will not be playing the reigning world champions every single week. So hopefully she can improve and develop as a defender. And then looking on the Victorian side of things, Melbourne Victory, they're the team to beat. They have lost a few players, but Angie Beard for Courtney Nevin would generally be seen as a like for like. I think at this stage of their careers, definitely that Beard is a better player, especially in that Victory system. However, Nevin, huge raps on her throughout women's football. She now can come down and work under Jeff Hopkins, and we'll see what she can do. Lisa Devana is gone, but Melbourne Victory are very confident that the likes of, Leah Privatelli, if nothing else, can certainly replace the grunt and the mongrel that Lisa Devana has left at Melbourne Victory. And I do think that Melina Reyes, I've got huge raps on Melina Reyes. I think she is primed if she can stay fit, if she can keep at it, get her head down and work hard. I think Melina Reyes is primed to have a breakout Golden Boot winning season, and I think she should have been in a squad already, given some of the players that have been getting call-ups in the last few camps. But I think Melina Reyes will give Tony Gustafsson no choice but to take a look at her in a full, proper Matildas camp at some point.
Well, we had her on last week, Melina, and we did ask her about it.
We're a good luck charm. I'm telling you, if it happens, we're taking full credit for it at the end of the season. Come on.
Look, she was pretty circumspect.
Yes, Joey, come on.
She said she, quote unquote, wasn't too cut about being left out. But I think I was more disappointed than she was. She's a pretty chill character.
Well,
she's a very chill character.
Well, Joey, before we let you go, I've got 2 quick questions for you. Is your finals predictions Sydney FC versus Melbourne Victory a replay? And we like to ask every person who comes on the show, who are some players that people should be looking out for in the A-League Women's this year?
At this stage, it would be Melbourne Victory and Sydney FC, purely because, as I mentioned, the golfing class.
That's not to say there's not going to be some last-minute surprise W League signings as there often are.
Is that a coin?
Yeah.
Did you say W League just then, Josh? Come on.
Oh, God. I have
we
to
only say the right name
We
here.
have a swear jar going on here on Radio Dub this season. We actually do. I've got the sound effect somewhere. But, that's a $1 in the swear jar for me.
In Radio Dub. Well, indeed, there are some late signings that are on the horizon. Most of them, I wouldn't say would upset that prediction, and possibly one of them would even strengthen that prediction quite a lot if it comes off. However, that quality exists at the top. Melbourne City, if it all goes right, could crash the party. As I said, Canberra, Brisbane, if things go right, because it's the Dub. Chaos is even more so than the A-League men competition, which runs off chaos. It seems that every year the Dub finds a way to one-up itself. So I have no doubt that something will happen this season that makes me look like a complete fool, or more of a fool than I already am. And in terms of players to watch this season, there's so many. 2023, of course, is on the horizon. There's so many to watch, players pressing their case. But a player that I've got a lot of raps on, a player that is a pet project of Jeff Hopkins at Melbourne Victory. I think he sees a little bit of himself in her, the hard-nosed defender, Polly Doran, on the wing-back at Melbourne Victory. I love her story. She came through. She didn't go into the elite pathway. She came through playing for the Essendon Royals. Calder United, never sniffed the junior or young Matildas side, but here she is playing week in and week out for the defending A-League Women's Champions. Listen, I don't think she's ever going to be a Ballon d'Or winning Ellie Carpenter type, but she's going to turn into, I think, a very solid pro, not just in Australia, but I think she's got what it takes to turn into a very solid pro overseas, maybe jag a few Matildas caps, maybe prove her adaptability as well and move around the pitch. So I think she is primed to take another step this season.
Well, thank you, Joey, for joining us on the show for our A-League preview show. We'll hopefully have you in the middle of the season, see if your predictions have held up. And where can we read some of your stuff coming out this week?
I will have an A-League women's season preview in ESPN Australia alongside Marissa Lordanic. I will have a solo A-League women's season preview in The Guardian. I will have a bit of a look ahead to the 2023 Women's World Cup in Optus Sport. I will have an A-League women's feature on one player in The Guardian at some point soon. And I will also have an A-League women column in The Guardian coming out on Monday. And I will also be filing on all the press conferences and the like on my own website, jdlmedia.news.
Your computer is going to be finished.
We better let you go. You've got a lot of articles to write. It's like Mike Tyson,
Seriously.
with fluid information. Just go to your Twitter feed at Joey Lynchy and find all his stuff. Joey, brilliant stuff.
Thank you very much. And I'll also be calling the Doherty Cup final on Sunday alongside Josh Parrish. And I'll also have a preview out for that on Football Victoria's pages.
Look at that. Busy man. Busy man. Come on.
All right. Shall we take a short break?
We shall.
Oh, before we do, you couldn't hear that, Joey, but that's the sound effect. One in the swear jar for yours truly. A-League Women is what it's called.
Please. Come on now.
We are more than engineers. We are more than project managers. We are more than surveyors. We are more than infrastructure specialists. We are more than planners. So, who are we? We are problem solvers, providing the highest quality service and results. We are a team of skilled professionals, focused on customer needs and outcomes. We are 23 years of industry experience, adhering to the highest safety standards. We are Melbourne, and we are right across Victoria. We are the Lanco Group, your business partner for engineering solutions. Lanco Group. We are more than you realise, and we are ready to partner with you.
Are you looking to change your destiny in life? Be your own boss? Start your own business? If you are, you need people who understand your needs and are committed to helping you make it happen. At DKP & Co Chartered Accountants, we are more than just accountants. We are business advisors, taxation consultants, and strategists that specialise in setting up businesses. We understand the client and give them the very best customised advice and strategies to achieve their goals. Visit our website, dkpco.com.au, or give us a call today on 03 9023 9370. Fast, proactive, personal. That's DKP & Co Chartered Accountants.
She lays it off to Teresa Polias. It's an absolute peach. Is driving. What a hit from Melina Reyes. Wow. And Sam Kerr has a hat-trick. Miedema, 1-0.
I can say I went back. Sorry, I just missed my cue a little bit, but I can just say I got a little bit captivated by the music. I felt the energy, and it might be because the Matildas were about to play in about 20 or so minutes. But before that match, let's talk about their game on Saturday. Mm-hmm. It wasn't the result they were after, a 3-0 loss, another loss to the United States Women's. Unfortunate early goals conceded in each half that kind of really derailed the Matildas. Josh, what were your thoughts on the match?
I think we're in a World Cup cycle now. We're 18 months out. I think it's probably time to stop experimenting with random teenagers.
Come on, Josh. Seriously, I'm with you 100%.
We got to get the first team out. Is Jessica Nash going to play in the World Cup? Probably not. We need centre backs, and there are more conventional, safer options out there. Maybe you get that 1,000,000 to 1 chance to find a diamond in the rough you can slot in there in the pressure games, who's still a teenager and has barely a season of A-League women's under their belt. Less likely than slotting in Jenna McCormack or Emma Checker and having them do a job.
Yeah.
That is all we need a defender to do, is do a job. And look, if Polkinghorne and Kennedy are fit, they'll probably end up starting most of the World Cup matches. But that is, prayer hands up.
I think we're maybe a little bit harsh on Nash and Nevin. I will say that because Alana Kennedy was not fully fit, she couldn't have played on Saturday. And she probably will not. She's definitely not going to start tonight, even if she might not even come on. I will say it was baptisms of fire, one of the best teams in the world. But even if Alana Kennedy and Claire Polkinghorne were to play, it doesn't instill me with the greatest amount of confidence. Watching some of these European players play, they are very quick. The passes are sharp, and I don't know if sometimes Alana Kennedy or Claire Polkinghorne are able to withstand that pressure, especially when we're seeing Alana Kennedy play for Manchester City this year and struggled a few times and conceded a lot of goals with some of her performances.
I don't think there's an obvious answer there, but I don't think
it's
it helps.
Kayla Morrison.
Okay, yeah, the naturalisation committee at it again. Look, I don't think there's an obvious answer who is currently eligible on passport status. It doesn't really exist. Maybe somebody will emerge over the course of the W League season. I've got big tickets on Chelsea Blissett.
Of course,
but look, the other, I'm more criticising the mentality than the individual players who've been brought in. I'm criticising the Gustafsson mentality of these games are all about experimentation and there's no pressure and it's not about the result. They got pumped 3-0. They played well for about 20 minutes.
Yes, I will.
And there was an open goal miss from Kaya Simon that could have changed the game, of course. But, it wasn't a great showing and didn't instill me with confidence. And I don't think we've got as much time as Gustafsson seems to think we have.
Speaking of missed opportunities, there are about 4 clear opportunities in the first half that on another day they maybe go in. Kai Simon's probably going to have dreams about that miss, that was my dad, who doesn't really watch women's football that much, comes to me randomly, goes, "Did you see that miss?" And it had been like 2 days since the game, and he goes, that was a bad one. And I was like, I totally agree. But for me, I was reading something. Somebody was saying that Tony Gustafsson's playing a defensive style of football. Well, somebody show me this defensive style of football, because we concede goals for fun at times, and it's not a very compact squad. If it was more compact and we were losing 1-0 here, there, I think I could get over that, because we have Sam Kerr up front to, get us 1 or 2 goals in a game. But if we're conceding 3 goals, there's not really much hope for us, and we're in a shootout, and nobody wants to be in a shootout for a football match.
I think part of the issue is playing Emily Van Egmond as a 6 again, and we've talked about this way too often to go over it in detail, but it doesn't work, and it is defensive vulnerability when the ball is inevitably turned over. So I just don't see the point in playing her there, regardless of who's available or rotation or what have you. I thought it was really encouraging what we saw from Kyra Cooney-Cross in previous games, even if she's not that practiced in the role, but the more minutes she can get in that position, the better. And I just don't really understand the point of playing Van Egmond there. I think we will see some rotation tonight. The lineup's out for this game tonight. We shouldn't spend too much time talking about it, because when people listen to the podcast, this game will already have happened. So it's got a very short shelf life. But what do you want to see change in this game? What do you want to see improved?
I want to see like just more passing through the midfield, and like a little slower of a build up, and not just this long rushed ball across from Steph Catley or Ellie Carpenter. Ellie Carpenter did have that great cross to Caitlin Ford, which got Kai Simon that opportunity, but I don't want to be seeing that 24. I want to see more intricate play. If you have possession a little bit more, we can create something and get Sam Kerr, to not be waiting on a cross in the middle of the penalty box, and, have an opportunity to play with Kaitlyn and play with Kai, so they can, get a few more goals.
I'm just looking at the lineup here.
What's out?
Looks like Ellie Carpenter at centre back to me.
Okay,
with Courtney Nevin.
We need to stop right now, okay? This is fundamentally one of my biggest pet peeves, okay?
Yeah.
How is Ellie Carpenter, one of the best right backs in the world, yeah, Josh? And
Square peg, round hole.
and yet we play her as a centre back. That right there is a problem in and of itself. You cannot put out a lineup and have confidence that Kaitlyn Carrich is playing as a centre back that loses all her great ability. Oh no, Josh, that's upset me.
Okay, Pokuah's very upset. I'll read out the rest of the team. It looks like Nevin with Carpenter at centre back to me. It's not in formation. Catley at left back. Looks like Hayley Russo at right back. There's a lot of attacking players in this team, so it is a quote-unquote attacking lineup. Van Egmond, Fowler, Yallop is the midfield. It's Kaya Simon. Oh, Cooney Cross is in there as well. Okay, I'm going to have to rejig that. In fact, I think it will be Van Egmond, Yallop and Cooney Cross in the midfield. Fowler is part of the front three with Simon and Kerr. Do not love it. Do not love it.
Josh, I don't want to speak.
I think Pokuah is a little bit emotional, so let's take in a short break and shall we come back with a special guest? Bit of reinforcements?
Lethal guest, yeah. International man of mystery. He's on at the net behind this break. Come on.
You're listening to FNR, Football Nation Radio.
We are more than engineers. We are more than project managers. We are more than surveyors. We are more than infrastructure specialists. We are more than planners. So, who are we? We are problem solvers, providing the highest quality service and results. We are a team of skilled professionals, focused on customer needs and outcomes. We are 23 years of industry experience, adhering to the highest safety standards. We are Melbourne, and we are right across Victoria. We are the Lanco Group, your business partner for engineering solutions. Lanco Group. We are more than you realise, and we are ready to partner with you.
Are you looking to change your destiny in life? Be your own boss? Start your own business? If you are, you need people who understand your needs and are committed to helping you make it happen. At DKP & Co Chartered Accountants, we are more than just accountants. We are business advisors, taxation consultants, and strategists that specialise in setting up businesses. We understand the client and give them the very best customised advice and strategies to achieve their goals. Visit our website, dkpco.com.au, or give us a call today on 03 9023 9370. Fast, proactive, personal. That's DKP & Co Chartered Accountants.
Voor Frank de Boer. Frank de Boer speelt de bal. Heel goed naar Dennis Bergkamp. Dennis Bergkamp. Dennis Bergkamp neemt de bal aan. Dennis Bergkamp. Dennis Bergkamp. Dennis Bergkamp. Dennis Bergkamp. Dennis Bergkamp. Oh! Frank de Boer speelt de bal aan Dennis Bergkamp. Die neemt de bal feilloos aan. En ik schiet de bal erin. We spelen nog officieel 20 seconden. Dennis Bergkamp. 2-1.
FNR, Football Nation Radio.
She lays it off Teresa Polias. It's an absolute peach. Is driving. What a hit from Melina Reyes. Wow. And Sam Kerr has a hat-trick. Beat him out. 1-0.
And we're back from our final ad break. I'm Pokuah Frimpong, and this is always my co-host Josh Parrish. We're on FNR, Radio W here. We have a special guest. On my right-hand side, see, as I was a football sack intern last year, the new football sack intern this year, Mr. Oscar Rutherford. Oscar, welcome to Radio Dub, the best show on FNR. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling all right, thanks, Pokuah. Thanks for having me. I know that you hyped up this show as having one of the best, most experienced football journalists in this country on, so I'm glad you found time for Joey Lynch as well. So.
Oh, funny man.
Yeah.
That's good. I like
that with the big
Come on.
talk.
Sorry.
Now, Oscar,
Yeah.
as a football secretary, you have a team. Which team are you covering for this season?
I am covering Melbourne City this season, Melbourne City men's and women's teams.
Okay. Well, you know what? Since this is a women's football show, tell me your thoughts on Melbourne City women's. What are your predictions for them this season?
Yeah, I think it's a good question because I think Melbourne City are a really interesting team. Obviously, underperforming last season, and have made just so many signings in the last few months, just so many. And the thing that really gets me is, well, first of all, so many of the signings are young players. They're clearly building for the future, which is really exciting, I think. But also, so many of their players are defenders. They've signed so many defenders, and I know that lots of that's just kind of nominal. They don't have to play there. They could play in midfield. They could play further up the pitch. You've got Kaitlyn Carrich, for example, who can play higher up, and Tyler J. Lynch, those kinds of players. But also, my worry for Melbourne City, Pokuah, is where are the goals coming from? They've brought in Hannah Wilkinson, New Zealand international striker, but other than her, they're relying on some really, really young players.
I said to Oscar before the show started, I said Chelsea Blissett was going to be scoring a lot of goals from head at set pieces. So that's where their other 20 goals are going to come from this season.
I mean, Hannah Wilkinson is a pretty experienced target woman, I suppose. So she'll add something up front, even if she's feeding on scraps. I think she looks like a good acquisition, but they've also lost creativity. I mean, Kanatsukira, I thought was quality, just used incorrectly. She's gone. Alex Chidiak obviously off to Japan. So the supply line I don't think is there either, and probably going to see this 5 at the back from Rado Vidicic again. I'm not convinced that this team is going beyond the mid-table.
Ooh, that's a different one to what Joey had before. Why do you say that for you? Why do you think?
I just think it's a bit stodgy. Okay. I think they've got this 5 at the back. It worked really well when you had Steph Catley and Ellie Carpenter, but they're marauding wing-backs or full-backs. They provide so much attacking thrust, and that team barely conceded a goal all season. And, they won often by quite narrow margins. Not universally, of course, but it wasn't a hugely entertaining team to watch despite the star power on display. Now you've got a really young team without those star names, without potentially that threat from wing-back and that attacking width. And it's essentially just a line of 5 defenders and one really decent-looking striker up front. I don't see how they're going to create too many scoring opportunities. I think they'll be hard to break down, but I mean, similar to you, Oscar, I just think it's too bottom-heavy, this squad.
Well, as an Arsenal fan, I do love Steph Catley. She is my favourite Matilda, okay? So obviously it will always be hard to replace someone of her skill level. Who is a player in the Melbourne City squad that you think is actually going to be really exciting, though? Like, I know you're a little bit cautious about how the defensive they are looking. Is there a player going forward, or even maybe a defensive player that is exciting for you to look out for?
Yeah, I mean, so they've brought in Rihanna Polachina from Newcastle. I think she's a really important signing for them in the midfield because she can kind of pick those passes and be that creative outlet that they've lost or that they're missing with the likes of Kira and Chidiak having gone. They've also got, a couple of really, really young attackers, so supporting Hannah Wilkinson. They've got Holly McNamara, who's, I think, just 18 years old or something like that. So they've, as I said, a team building for the future, and so that kind of makes them a bit of a wild card. You don't really know what to expect from lots of these players. And so they could blow us away and be, way better than we thought and have this electricity and be like the team to watch. But equally, maybe they'll find it hard going against some of the best teams in the country kind of thing.
Well, I always throw in a nugget from my FV emerging watching last season, and it's Kaitlyn Carrich, who I'm hoping will make a few appearances. She's very young, very, very young, very raw, but she's got unbelievable pace and power to be thrown on a flank in the last 15 minutes of the game. I think she can burn any defenders, be it professional level or NPL. I really was blown away by her, and many defenders were in the NPLW season as well. So I think that's a really shrewd pickup, even if she takes a while to adapt to the level.
And I think it's a really good point. I think it's exactly the kind of player that Melbourne City need, but of course it's putting so much responsibility on someone who's so young. So it's that's kind of their major downfall, is that although that particularly in the long term could be a great acquisition, in the short term, I'm not sure how well it's going to go for them.
I like to look at Letitia McKenna as well. I mean, she's experienced in W League or A League women's terms.
Josh.
Is that a swear jar?
That's a swear jar.
No, but it's past experience.
Okay. Whew. We're trying to say the correct name here. We are a professional show here, so we try to stick with the professional names.
Experienced in W League terms and carries that experience into the new era of the A League women.
Yes. That's the way to phrase it. That's the way to phrase it. Come on.
No swear jar.
No swear jar. That's right.
I had the sting ready as
Teetering
well.
on the line, but that's okay. It's okay.
She's only 19, 20, but she's played some serious senior football, so that's a good acquisition. But I still have my reservations. On the other side of town, though, at Victory, they look absolutely stacked. I don't see how this Victory side isn't winning the league. I mean, Sydney FC maybe can put it up to them in a one-off finals match, but this Victory squad, I think, was going to run away with the Premier's plate.
Well, Oscar, he brings up Melbourne Victory, and I know you're not limited to just the City side. I know you did your research. When you were doing your research, what did you see from Victory that you really liked?
No, you're right. I am a versatile performer. So I bring plenty of qualities. Yeah, look, I think that Josh's argument is very persuasive. I mean, it's a championship-winning team, and the core of that squad's the same. Lots of young players get an extra pre-season, an extra year to get even better. You've got, Kayla Morrison, Claudia Bunge, Polly Doran, all these kinds of players, let alone Melina Reyes up top and Kyra Cooney-Cross. And so I completely understand why so many people are making that point that they won the league. Well, they've got the same players. Why can't they do it again? The thing that I feel like we're sometimes skimming over is the fact that last season, the Victory weren't like runaway leaders or anything. They weren't far and away the best team in the comp kind of thing.
Well, I mean, they finished third in the regular season and made the grand final. So.
Exactly. So in that way, I wonder if the fact that they won the grand final has kind of clouded our vision a bit as to how good this team is. Maybe I'll be making my words, but the likes of Sydney FC, they finished higher on the ladder than them. And I know that they've lost players, but they've also recruited. So, I mean, I don't think it's as clear-cut as it feels like some people want to argue that it is, because not that I'm saying that's what Josh is doing, but there are lots of other good teams as well who have maintained really good squads, and so the Victory, I don't think are significantly better than lots of the teams.
My whole thing about Victory is they just have the X factor in so many parts of the park compared to other teams. Other teams have really nice, great squads, but when I look at Melbourne Victory, they have game winners who can change the match in just a split second, and they can play different styles of football. And I think some other teams in the A-League Women's are very limited to one style, and if it doesn't work for them, they struggle to, change it up.
That's how I feel about City, actually, to bring it back around. I feel that Radovic's teams in that sort of five at the back, passing in the U shape, trying to work it across the pitch. Their plan in possession seems a little bit, if plan A doesn't work, do plan A better. And I think Jeff Hopkins is maybe underrated in terms of the coaching ranks. He's a very popular figure, obviously a really fantastic guy, but I don't think he's ever been seriously considered for coaching positions further up the tree.
Do you think he should be?
I don't see why not. Yeah. I mean, if Victory pull it off again this season and win are champions or win another trophy, Premier's Plate, I don't see why he shouldn't be in the conversation to be the next Matildas boss. He knows the competition better than anybody, and he knows Australian players. He's been here for a long, long time.
I will say Tony G is on a clock. It's the clock is ticking.
I think it would be premature. But
no. I'm just saying that we are getting closer and closer to the Asian. My brain just...
The Asian Cup.
Thank you. My brain just...
Champions League?
Honestly, too many names.
There is a Women's Champions League now. It's a pretty limited competition. But
Women's Champions League is... I get up when Arsenal play.
Oh, no. I'm talking about Asian Women's Champions League.
If Arsenal are playing, come on. Am I there?
You're not going to get up and watch the Mitsubishi Diamonds?
No. I will. Australian footballers are everywhere in the world, and you've got to watch them.
Mm-hmm.
But he's on a clock, and when we get to the Asian Cup, if they don't perform as well as they should, then maybe there is time we should, start looking at some of these coaches in the A-League Women's, because some of them are doing some great work.
Yeah. I honestly think he's doing a fantastic job, and it's not just about the talent on paper, it's also about the morale in the dressing room. You watch those Melbourne Victory players, if you go down to a training session, everyone's having fun. he's mentoring all of them individually.
It's because they're playing. Melina Reyes is playing ACDC, and everyone's, of course, they're having
off and about.
Come on.
But we heard about the sort of individual mentoring that goes on there. I mean, telling Melina Reyes she has to get 5 tap-ins this season, and everything else is a bonus. I like that style of coaching. I think it works for players to give them sort of individual targets in their minds. And I just have a lot of time for Jeff Hopkins. And I feel like his sort of slightly avuncular style means that he isn't considered.
Word of the day, right there.
Yeah, he seems like he's your fun uncle at family Christmas or something. He comes across that way, and I don't think he's considered as seriously as these coaches who are very technically minded and serious in the way they deal with the media and so forth. Yeah. I just don't feel as if he's taken seriously enough based on his achievements. Anyway, that's my tangent for the day.
That's okay.
I guess we heard it here first. The avuncular Jeff Hopkins.
Honestly, I need to get it down. I'm not going to lie to you know that word. Well, Oscar, before we go, you were in Sydney and you actually did see the Matildas performance in person, in the flesh. You told me it wasn't the greatest vantage point, but you still saw the game in the flesh. What were your thoughts on that before we go?
My thoughts were that the Wiggles were excellent. I cannot recommend them enough.
Yeah.
Crowd engagement, top notch. It was a great spectacle. Don't know if that put off Jess Nash and Courtney Nevin, but
I think it put off Emily Van Egmond. I think she thought the ball was a hot potato.
Yeah.
Might have put off Ellie Carpenter for a second as well.
And Kaya Simon tried to mash a banana over the crossbar.
Yeah.
That's all right.
That was a stretch. One swing and miss.
Maybe the Kai Simon one was a bit. The ball was a bit too hot, so it just flung off a hot potato. I don't know.
My Wiggles material needs some work. Wake up, Josh.
This game.
Very nice. Come on. This is a professional show. We have Wiggles banter. Come on.
Yeah, all right. I shouldn't have brought them up. I apologise. Yeah, but I don't know what to say that hasn't really been said about the performance. 3-0 was harsh. Didn't deserve to lose 3-0. Conceding early goals in both halves, unfortunate. Then a really soft penalty. So on another day, it would have been a really different game. But you can say that about every game. I know that it's been spoken about having Ellie Carpenter at centre back, and I know you don't want to talk about it anymore.
It upsets me. Come on.
But I did spend 10-15 minutes at the start of the second half without the benefit of the broadcast going, that is Ellie Carpenter at centre back. That is what's happening here.
Sometimes I have
mad.
nightmares about it, and I go, oh no. That wasn't a dream, actually. That actually happened in real life. It's upsetting. Well, thank you, Oscar, for joining us. Hopefully we'll have you back on, again, when the season's actually kickstarted. Thank you, Josh, as always. If you do want to listen to this after, you can always listen to it on Spotify, Apple Music, or anywhere place.
Apple
Podcast. Oh, it's the same place,
Are we going to be on Apple Music? Are you hinting at a single?
Come on. A single rap verse is going to be on.
Dub EP.
Come on. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Joey, as well, who was on at the start of the show. And we'll see you next week.
Pickett, she lays it off. Teresa